When you start leveling up your life, people will start calling you narcissistic, immoral, a mean person, and someone who doesn't care about other people. This happens naturally, and it especially happens to women, and actually even more so neurodivergent women. When you're a woman and you suddenly realize that you need to change something about your own life, you need to take responsibility, and you need to be strategic about the moves you make, and you suddenly do not settle for less. You have strong boundaries. You look better than ever. People are gonna start calling you a narcissist, a mean girl, a bad person, and immoral. And the reason why they start calling you all of this, your friends, your family, even other women, is because their whole lives they've grown up with the idea that women need to be moral and nice and good no matter what. Women, and especially neurodivergent women, are caught in a cycle of people pleasing and putting other people before their own needs because their whole lives society tells them that we should be nice and we should be good and we should listen to what everyone says. We should be empathic. We should sit down and wipe everyone's tears before we care about our own. I'm a neurodivergent woman myself, and I used to be a crazy people pleaser. Every single thought I would have would be about whether people saw me a specific way, how I could come across as an even nicer person. I was always very, very on point with never breaking the rules, and I wanted to be a good person. I was very caught up in this whole idealistic idea about if you act like a good person, the whole world will be good. We're all supposed to be good, and if we all help each other, then the world will help you, and we'll all live in fairy tale la la land, unicorn poop land. You should treat everyone the way that you want to be treated. That type of mentality. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you being a good person. You should always be a polite and mannerly person. But when it comes to leveling up your life and you're a woman who's been people pleasing for a lot of your life, especially when you're neurodivergent and you take people's way of acting much more directly and you just want to do your best to fit in and not be seen as weird, it is so important that you become more selfish. And selfish is not a bad word when you have never actually prioritized yourself. When your whole life you have been afraid of being someone who is immoral or bad. It is so important that you embrace being quote unquote selfish. You prioritize yourself. You cut out the people that are not good for you, even if they're friends and even if they're family. But the thing is, no matter how many people you cut out on your journey towards success, your success and your inner light that you have now made so big and strong and beautiful is gonna intimidate people that have small and insecure minds. People that have never let themselves imagine more for themselves. They're gonna get really scared and really intimidated by the fact that you let yourself pour into yourself. And the reason why they start calling you narcissistic and immoral and bad is because they are caught up with the rules of society. They think that the only way for you to be a good person is for you to cater to everyone. And if you cater to everyone, then you will be rewarded in the long haul. But that is just the biggest lie ever. And it's also a big lie. You can never ever be able to pour back into the people that deserve to be poured back into, the people that deserve help, the people around the world that deserve to be spoiled and treated and who you could help out if you had the resources and the money to be able to do it. You can never ever get to that point if you do not put yourself first. But society wants you to put the idea of what you can do when you have the money, when you have everything you need in order to be able to give back to people. People want you to give like you already have all of that, which means you will never actually be able to give even more in the long haul because you're giving and giving and giving from a place where you don't have anything yet. This is why the first thing you have to do is focus on helping yourself, not helping others. And to a lot of people, that is going to be seen as selfish. That is going to be seen as narcissistic. That is going to be seen as immoral. But you have to understand that inside yourself, you are a good person. You want to help people out. You want to help the world out. You want to help animals out. But you can never ever do that unless you take the energy that you have and you pour it into yourself so that you can grow yourself, so that you have enough for yourself. You have more than enough for yourself so that you can give without worry. A lot of women end up in draining relationships with actual narcissistic people. They have draining relationships with their family members. They have draining relationships with their quote unquote friends because they're so caught up in this idea that they need to be moral and they need to be good and they need to pour into people to see something back. And they think they need to pour into these people, the people close to them that have it hard, so that they can test out to be this good person that they actually want to be in the long haul. But you know what these people are going to do? They're going to take advantage of you having no boundaries and you not pouring into yourself. And they're going to also tell you that you can never get any more, so that whatever energy you do have that could become bigger so you could give to even more, that energy remains so small that you only have a little bit to give to them. The people that call you narcissistic, the people that call you immoral, the people that say that you are a bad person, the only reason they call you that is because they want to gatekeep your success, your potential, so that you feed into them instead of feeding into yourself, so that in the long run, you can feed into anyone who deserves it. And another reason for why they call you immoral and mean and narcissistic is because they're not willing to admit to themselves that they can change when suddenly you are changing. When your family members, when your friends, and when people around you suddenly see you changing because now you're having boundaries, you're gatekeeping yourself, you're putting energy into yourself, that is something that is completely foreign to a lot of people. A lot of people are still caught up in people pleasing. A lot of people in society think that people pleasing is the only option. Being a moral and good person is the only option. But they never actually have enough for themselves, so they end up actually being selfish. And they end up becoming immoral themselves because they start dragging you down. If they truly had enough for themselves, they would not tell you to get down. If they truly were happy with the lives that they had, they would not tell you that you can't get more. No one who's actually happy with the life they're living and who's going for the dreams that they want to go for would ever tell someone that they shouldn't go for their dreams. Which essentially means that the people that are calling you narcissistic or calling you selfish, calling you mean, they're exactly what they tell you that you are. This is a prime example of projecting. They hate to see that you are up here and you're climbing your way with hard work up here, bettering yourself, bettering your boundaries, not settling for less. And they think that the only thing you can do in life is to people please people. So they think when you are rising to another level in your life, you're people pleasing. You're doing it to people please other people. You're doing it for validation. So they think you're immoral because they're actually immoral towards themselves. This is why a lot of people that you hang around with before you start leveling up are not good for you to hang out with when you are leveling up. This means friends, this means your boyfriend, this means your family. If they have any type of negative comment about you leveling up, they will try to drag you down at some time. And this is because their nervous system thinks you are a threat for leveling up, because they're only used to the uncomfortability of the life that they are living. They're actually comfortable with the uncomfortability of the lives that they're living. And now that you are leveling up, you're showing to them that it is possible for someone to level up. It is possible for someone to break the pattern. And before, when you weren't leveling up, they could live in the illusion that you couldn't level up. You couldn't change your life. You had to be a people pleaser. You had to have a victim complex your whole life. They could continue wallowing in that self-guilt, self-shame, self-hate, and think that it's normal, think compromising their own boundary, being judgmental towards others. They could think that that was normal because you are not threatening their existence. But suddenly someone close to them is starting to go from vibrating down here to vibrating up here. And that's a threat to their reality, because suddenly their perspective is forced to change a little bit. And their shadow self, their subconscious that wants to keep them down here because it's comfortable with being down here, is going to put on the alarm bells. It's going to start waving red flags, not because what you're doing is actually a red flag, but because it is new to them. And whatever's new, whatever's unknown to people is going to be seen as bad by their nervous system, because humans fear the unknown. This is why usually a lot of people are not actually able to take the chances that they need to take in their lifetimes, because they're so scared of the unknown. Even if it's clear that you're better up here, they don't want to go from down here because they're comfortable, even if they're uncomfortable. But suddenly, when you rise from being down here to being up here, the people you're used to hanging out with, they're still down here. And there's going to be a dissonance because now you're up here. You are vibrating much higher than they are. And that's going to be a threat for their nervous system. And more so, it is going to be going against the alibi that they have created for themselves their whole lives, that they could not get more. This is what they're destined to do. The life that they have is enough. If they have some type of desire within themselves that says to them, I want more, when you start getting more, that is going to be activated within them, and they're going to try to do everything in their power to shut it down, but it's been activated by you. It's fighting against the alibi that they've created. And the way people try to shut down their desires and dreams to stay at the comfortable, uncomfortable level is they become very verbal. They try to drown out the noise they have within them that wants more and project it onto people that are actually showing them that they can get more. So when people start calling you a narcissist or a bad person, when you start leveling up, you start actually having boundaries, you start settling for less, you start going for your dreams and desires, that is a reflection of the fact that you awaken something within people, and you're awakening it to a point where now they have to drown it out. Now they have to tame it. And they would rather try to tame it by trying to get you down from your pedestal, from trying to get you down from your high vibration, new life that you deserve, because that means the threat would be gone and their nervous system would be calm again, even if they're living a life they're not happy with. So that's why they start being really verbal. And this is where you have to be really, really resilient. And you also have to understand that the reason people are calling you this is because they see potential within you. They see that you're doing something that is so powerful that it makes them feel scattered. It makes them feel like their dreams and desires is fighting their comfortability in their uncomfortability. So your power actually awakens something within people that makes them start questioning themselves, but they're not happy to start questioning themselves. So instead they start questioning you. And this is why it's so important that you keep going for you and you do not stoop down and try to make people happy. Try to prove to these people that are calling you narcissistic, that are calling you mean, that are calling you bad, that are telling you that you don't care about other people anymore. You clearly don't have any empathy. It is so important that you do not stoop down from your high vibrations to try to coddle and console people down here that are being threatened by you. Because them telling you that you are a bad person, you're not moral, you don't care about other people's feelings, is their subconscious literally going out through their mouth verbally, trying to manipulate you into getting you down so that you're no longer a threat. Every time that you lower your vibration from someone, you are compromising your dream life, and your vibration is not going to be able to grow to the point where you would be able to actually be the example of having grown and gotten what you wanted. You need to be resilient at this point. And actually, you should see it as a blessing that people are starting to come after you. You should see it as a blessing that people that are low vibrational are starting to tell you that you're a bad person, because that means that your power is growing. That means that the efforts that you're putting into yourself, the goodness that you see in yourself is growing. and you need to push through. You have to think about yourself as someone who is climbing up a mountain to get to your goal. The life that you truly want is on top of that mountain, and you leveling up is you trying to get there. And the people that are shouting at you saying you're a bad person, they're the people at the bottom of the mountain who are scared of climbing up the mountain. When you're climbing up the mountain, in the beginning, you will still be able to see and hear the people that are telling you, this is scary, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. You make me scared. You make me feel bad. You're not a good person for leaving all of us behind. We can't go there. The only reason they're saying we can't go up the mountain is because it's threatening their nervous system to see the fact that it's actually possible for you to do it. Especially if you're someone who has had a really hard time your whole life. If you're a neurodivergent who's suddenly leveling up, that is going to be especially threatening because that proves to the people you're around that they can do more. They can do better. They don't have to settle because you, despite everything that you've gone through, you're taking the step to climb up the mountain. But then when you're climbing up the mountain, eventually you're going to get to a point where you can still hear the voices from people. They're going to be a little lower. They're going to be distant from you because you're focusing on yourself. You're not actually around these people anymore. That's what happens when you climb up the mountain. You're distanced from people. That's what happens when you level up. You have to distance yourself from people that are down here. I'm going to say that again. When you start climbing up the mountain to get to the life that you want on top of the mountain, you're going to have to distance yourself from the people that are on the bottom of the mountain, or else you won't get to the top of the mountain, which is your goal. The same goes for when you're leveling up in your own life. If you want to get to your dream life, you have to let people be at the bottom of the mountain. You have to be comfortable letting people go, because if you're constantly climbing back down to check on whether people are okay, you are compromising your journey towards your dream life. And every time you climb back down from the mountain, you're gonna have less and less energy to climb further back up, and you're going to be more and more inclined to listen to the voices of the people at the bottom of the mountain telling you that you should just give up and come back down, and you could never do that, and you're a bad person, because you're going to have gone down the mountain to console the people that are scared for you, that wouldn't want to climb themselves. So now you've used all your energy, and it's going to be even harder to get to the top. This is why it's essential that you gatekeep yourself and you stop hanging around people that have the broke mindset that you need to be this moral person who tends to everyone. The most moral, the most selfless, and the most valuable thing you can do to help other people is for you to help yourself so that you can get to the top of your mountain, to your goal. You will be able to have a new perspective. You will be resilient. You won't be able to hear all of the noise from all of the people down here. So now you will have clarity on the top of your mountain. You will be able to see all of the opportunities, the options, the unlimitedness that exists because you took yourself up there. The most selfless thing, the most helpful thing, the most moral thing you can do to make sure that people help themselves, that people feel better, and that people stop fighting that inner voice that tells them and makes them want to tell you that you're a bad person, is to go for what you want, is to put yourself first. Because when you put yourself first and you grow and you grow and you grow, eventually you will have enough to be able to give back. Eventually you will be on top of the mountain where now you can share with people that it is possible to get up there. And you got up there. You did end up getting what you truly wanted. So now they can't tell you that you can't get what you want. Now you have the possibility to tap into what you want to do, to help everyone if you want to help people, to help animals, to help the world, because you proved to yourself that you could climb your mountain. And instead of listening to people, instead of listening to people's self-projection, instead of listening to people's self-doubt that they verbalize as a projection towards you, now you'll be an example. And you know what will happen when you put yourself first and you climb the mountain and you become the example? Some people, little by little, will say, you know what? I can do it too. And then more and more people will climb the mountain. They will try to reach you on top of the mountain instead of you lowering yourself to them. So by standing up for you, you're actually moving many, because then they will move people also, who will move more people, who will move more people, instead of you just going back down and tending to the few who didn't have an interest in leveling up themselves. Essentially, by putting yourself first and not listening to all the people that are trying to get you back down, that are trying to tell you that you're bad and you are immoral and you're a narcissist or whatever they want to call you, that is helping people out way more than you going back down and consoling them. Instead of you trying to prove that you are moral, instead of you saying, well, you know what, I am good. And this is actually one of the things that keep women from leveling up the most, because we grow up with this idea that we need to be moral, we need to be good. So our system is much more hardwired to become extremely uncomfortable when someone starts calling us bad people, when someone starts telling us that we don't care about others. We are much more reactive. We're much more prone to get rid of all of our progress just to tell people, I'm not a bad person, I'm a good person. I really do care about people. I really, really, really care, because we do care. We are good. Women are absolutely amazing. Having empathy is an absolutely great thing, but you need to have empathy for yourself first. And having empathy for yourself first and being strategic at getting the life that you want, that means that you cannot be listening to people that are telling you that you're immoral, you're bad, because they're using the way that you have been brought up by society, that you have been taught that you need to be a good girl, as a way to get you down, as a way to make their nervous systems feel less overwhelmed. And because you're catching on to the bait every single time, you are essentially gonna be eaten. Your dreams and your hopes and everything that you've worked for are gonna be compromised just because you were so obsessed with this idea you have in your heart that you've been taught your whole life that actually doesn't serve you, that you need to be good first and foremost and the rest will come after. You need to be good to yourself first and foremost. You need to prove to yourself that you can go where you need to go first and foremost. And then when you have more than enough, you can give back. Then you can be good. I've been watching The Great recently, and that's a TV show about an empress who gets married to an emperor. And this woman wants the best for the people of the country that she's empress in. When she gets to her new homeland, she's obsessed with this idea that she can transform the country. And if she's just good at heart and she shows her best self and she just helps people out, then everything will fall into pieces. But when she gets to the country that she's now empress or queen of, she realizes that that's really not how things go. If she actually wants the best for these people and she wants to take over power and she wants to get the life that she desires, she cannot be just nice and good. She can't just be a nice and good and people-pleasing person who makes everyone feel good, because that will mean that her way to power will be compromised. On her journey towards becoming empress and having power, she has to put herself first and her mission first. And that means that she does end up losing some people along the way and having to cut out people along the way that do not see her grandness. She has to stand by herself first and foremost. And eventually she does end up with all of the power. The emperor actually ends up giving her the power because she stood by her mission. But her whole life, she's been caught up with this idea about being good and being moral and helping other people first and foremost. And if you help other people, then everyone will be good and happy. And then we can all be jolly and dance around and swim in unicorn tears. She realizes that that's a lie. And she realizes that she has to put her own mission first. And people will see her as being bad for doing that, even if she knows that she wants the best for the country. And she knows that when she does get the power that she wants, she can make an incredible difference as the ruler of this country for more and more people. On her journey up the mountain to her goal, she cannot listen to her subconscious that is telling her, you have to be good, you have to be moral. And she cannot listen to the people that are telling her, oh, you're a bad person, you should only be good. Because if not, she wouldn't have gotten to the top. And you know what? This empress changed so many things in her lifetime when she did get to power. But she could have never gotten the power that she used to help so many people if she did not focus on getting that power for herself first. If she did not focus on herself first. And throughout this series, you can tell that her heart and her wanting to be good and wanting to be moral is fighting within her against her want to make something better of the country that she's in, and her understanding that she can't just be moral on her journey towards getting the power that will actually serve people even more. And this is something that a lot of women are fighting with when it comes to them getting the lives that they deserve. Within them, they have this idea that they don't want to be bad, they don't want to be immoral, they of course don't want to be narcissistic, they want to believe in the good. And the fact that this is within you is a clear sign that you are good. And this goodness is not gonna leave you because you understand that you need to be strategic and you cannot be hanging around people and consoling people that aren't ready to better their own lives. You have to focus on yourself first. You are still a good person for focusing on yourself. You are pouring your self-love into yourself, and because you haven't done that before, because you haven't empowered yourself before, it is going to feel unnatural. But then the further you get up the hill, the less the noises of people or your subconscious of wanting to be good and not wanting to disappoint people, it's going to be drowned out by the fact that you are closer than ever to getting the life that you truly want. And when you get to the top of that mountain, you will have more than enough to be able to give back and be the greatest person you've ever been, who can help everyone. But if you didn't stand on your boundaries, if you didn't stand on what you wanted, if you didn't climb your mountain, even when people were telling you that you're narcissistic, that you're bad, that you're immoral, you wouldn't get there. But when you get to the top, you'll be able to help so many more people, because not only will you be inspiring, you'll show that it is possible, you will also be able to show the goodness within your heart exponentially, in an unlimited way, because now you're not just pouring the little energy that you have into other people, you're pouring the unlimited energy and the unlimited resources and your unlimited mindset into those that look to you. And that is the best thing you can do, both for you and for others. If you truly want other people to have better lives, you have to focus on yourself first, and you have to be comfortable with even the people that you want to help out calling you a bad person, calling you mean. You shouldn't judge them for it, because they're just judging themselves, and no one should be judging themselves. But their journey up the mountain is theirs, and the best thing that you can do for yourself is continue climbing to the point where you can't hear the noises anymore. Now you can see the whole landscape from the top of the mountain. So don't worry. If people call you a bad person, if people call you narcissistic, if people call you immoral for setting boundaries, wanting more, following your desires, it's not a reflection of you actually being any of these things. It's a reflection of people seeing the power that you truly have, being intimidated by it, and not wanting to release their own power. And the way for you to make sure that people reveal and release their own true power is to make sure that you do not compromise yours, is to make sure that you keep going, you keep striving, and you achieve what you want to achieve. Because then they will also be able to follow. People will call you narcissistic. People will call you bad. People will call you immoral. But you just have to let them and understand that what you're trying to get to will make a much bigger difference in the long haul. And that, and both you and other people will be empowered.